So, update 1.13 is here for Modern Warfare 2, Warzone 2, and DMZ. Our timing for talking about stuff and then immediately having it updated, changed, altered in some way, it still is impeccable because we just talked about the prospect of this coming before Season 2 as of, well, last night. But today we're going to be breaking down what you need to know here about this and this relatively small update that we ended up getting in terms of sizing, but it's still a title update, no less, here for Modern Warfare 2, Warzone 2, and DMZ. So as we go along, drop your thoughts down below. Like we've seen with this update, underwhelmed by it, whatever the case, drop your thoughts. But that said, let's jump into it. First and foremost, the update itself was 500 megabytes on PlayStation, about 2.28 gigabytes on PC, and not owning it on Xbox, I've heard it's around 1 gigabyte, but I could be wrong on that one. So title update standards, this isn't the biggest that we've seen. We've talked about how recently title updates are normally a few gigs at least, with it more so being a meme as of the last couple of years, where COD kind of seemingly is intending to take up your entire hard drive in terms of storage. But for right now, this one shouldn't break the bank. At first glance, when you load into the game here, the only thing that I noticed immediately was a new startup splash screen, which honestly may or may not be new. The last time I booted my PS5 version, here was the mid-season update over a month ago, and then the Battle Pass tab will now show you how many unused tokens you have on your account. Except that wasn't the main target of this update. The main target of this update wasn't necessarily content, UI changes, or anything like that, but instead a lot of more back-end fixes, which again may not have that sort of same appeal that content will. It might not sound as exciting, but there definitely are a few big changes here that are worth noting. About a half hour after the update itself actually went out, Infinity Ward tweeted out the updated patch notes from the Season 1 Reloaded patch notes. So this is something that if you're looking for them explicitly, we'll link it down there in the description below so it is easier for you guys to find, but it is the exact same link as of what we had a month ago, but that has also been amended a couple of times since then, having seen smaller updates on December 16th, 19th, and now today, January 20th. But for this, we ended up seeing a handful of different changes across the board in some general and global changes, some bug fixes overall, and then Warzone 2 and DMZ specific changes, along with some smaller things here. But to start, I'm going to start out a little selfish here if you don't mind, because the biggest thing that I think, at least on my end, that I'm looking forward to here is the global change in the category of crashing. They stated this update contains several fixes to reduce the number of known crashes. We continue to prioritize increased stability and crash fixes across all platforms. So as you guys know, or if you don't, you're new to the channel, I have not been able to play Modern Warfare 2, specifically Warzone 2 and DMZ. Modern Warfare 2 MP seemed to be okay, I think, but I did less testing on that. I haven't been able to play that on a brand new system that I ended up getting with a 4090 and all the works as a supercomputer to help out not only just in the gaming sense, but also in the daily productivity sense. Editing, exporting, all that kind of stuff, working with a ton of 4K files, taking that time that it takes for me to produce a video, and then hopefully condensing it even further because of the quicker and more efficient hardware. I haven't been able to use that PC in 3 weeks since I got it because there was so much crashing. Now, opening my timer as of recording this, I'm 28 minutes in on another monitor that I have this PC hooked up to separately, where I haven't crashed just yet, knock on wood, though while that is much higher than some of the other recent tests that I've done, usually it'll last about 5 minutes or so before I crash, and that's just about it. I will say that first passes after updates and after changing driver versions and things like that were always the outliers in these timed tests. I'd last about 30 to 45 minutes, then crash, and then every 5 minutes after that, I'd crash again. So we're not quite past that point of, okay, I kind of feel comfortable with it now, but now getting this far at least and seeing that they've listed changes to stability, fingers crossed, man. I just want to play some DMZ and finish out my challenges there. But honestly, having seen so many other people have issues with this as well, I love the sound of this. Again, I'll believe it when I see it per se, whereas if I go an entire day or two without crashing, then I'll be like, hell yeah, good change. Beyond that though, we saw the Battle Pass got some improvement to the navigation, including fixes for players experiencing freezing, and additionally that new feature to highlight any unspent battle tokens. Beyond that, general bug fixes, including fixing an issue that caused multiple speaker names to persist on screen when 4 or more players were talking in chat. Again, that was one that just got really annoying. That, I think the only way to remedy that would be to close application and restart overall. That should be taken care of now, which is definitely nice. There are a lot of other smaller things here that we can run through real quick as well. They fixed an issue causing a visual error with a combat knife in the armory, directional navigation for progression in Gunsmith, which I'm assuming relates to the way that you ended up navigating the weapon platforms. The scrolling up, down, left, and right in terms of that UI wasn't too intuitive, so that'd be my assumption here with that. It fixed an issue that allowed players to move the text on attachments in Gunsmith, fixed an issue that could cause menus to close out unexpectedly. It fixed fixed an issue that sometimes caused the player's screen to turn black when exiting the firing range. It fixed the visual issue causing rainbow colors when navigating between menus quickly. I didn't see anything here in regards to this in the patch notes thus far, but I mean, hopefully that sort of accounts for the trippy effect in game whenever you look at some sort of very bright light source, and then it makes your entire game look like it's an acid trip. Haven't seen anything saying that that was fixed out, but hopefully that is as well. And then a few other things, but the biggest one out of the bug fixes beyond that is that it fixed the issue with tracking distances of long shot challenges when opponents were using Last Stand as a perk. Now, this doesn't again account for the other sort of things as well, because the Last Stand perk was interrupting other challenges like 3 kill streaks, like your prone kills, basically any challenge that was associated with any weapon progression and camos. It was negated by players going into Last Stand. So if you got the kill on that, you could kind of essentially count that one out. Fingers crossed this also fixes some other things, not only just the distance of long shot challenges, but we'll see here in time. Then moving over to the Warzone 2 side of things, there were a couple of definitely bigger changes here in terms of bug fixes. The first one being that it fixed an issue that sometimes prevented match wins from counting towards calling card challenges. Now that, I'm assuming, is something that may mean you can now back out of the game instead of having to wait for the game to kick you out, because previously for it to count towards your calling card challenges and your sort of back end progress there, and I think maybe even your nuke streaks, is you had to wait for the game to fully kick you out after that sort of after action report and that sort of obituary screen where it had every single player in the lobby scrolling past you. You couldn't just back out as soon as you ended up getting that Warzone victory screen. So fingers crossed that is fixed out now as well. But they said they fixed an issue that allowed players to earn XP when damaged by their own suppression mine. They fixed an issue that allowed players to maintain the effects of Dead Silence or Battle Rage by purchasing a new field upgrade while the other was already active. Again, nice fix there. They fixed an issue that allowed players to gain XP when using stim in the gas. And finally, they fixed an issue that could cause the game to freeze and disconnect a player or cause loss of functionality after interacting with a loadout crate. I have seen that happen a couple of times. Good change on that one to finally fix that out. Now, DMZ in particular had a couple of different things that were bigger in the DMZ sense, but honestly, in the grand scheme of things, were more so smaller bugs, i.e. addressing a number of issues impacting functionality and flow of equipping, swapping, and preview insured weapon slots, fixing the issue that allows players to duplicate items, fixing a bug where items from a player's backpack would show up in a dead drop, among some other smaller things. So again, in the grand scheme of things, nothing really was too changed out for DMZ in a functional sense, but definitely some nice changes here with that one. Now, notably on DMZ, there still hasn't been a fix to the looting supply drops, the larger world drops that are your loadout drops in BR. There hasn't been a stated fix to the way that you loot those, because right now, if you're playing on PC at least, I don't know if this carries over to console as well, and you're playing on controller, opening them is tethered to specific controller settings for some reason. I forget which off the top of my head it is, but I want to say it's one of the interact priority settings, because in my case, when I go in with my squad into DMZ, I can never open those up. I have to have somebody else open that because I have the incorrect priority setting on. So here's the hoping that's fixed out too, if it's not already. And then beyond that, we saw some other recently implemented changes here, likely via either hotfix or just some sort of miscellaneous changes here as of this update. The one that really stands out to me was a fixed crash issue where players would crash upon leaving the firing range with a secondary weapon equipped. I'm wondering if that is kind of in relation to the overall crashing that would happen if somebody would say, move your game state from say idle to searching for a match if you were in the firing range. That happened to me a couple of times where I was testing some weapon builds out and my squad would then queue up for a Warzone match and would crash my game. But beyond that, that is essentially your update 1.13 in a nutshell. Now, listen, I know that Season 2 is delayed here, and this is something that isn't necessarily the spiciest of patch notes or details on an update itself. A lot of this, again, was more so boring stuff that may just be back-end fixes you don't really care too much about. But personally, I'm really happy with this, that again, so far going through now, and while the math may not check out because I have to edit some stuff out where I messed up in the commentary or something like that, now being 36, almost 37 minutes in without a crash on my new PC and the game state that we have currently, I'll take that as an absolute win so far, especially if that can continue on throughout the day and we don't have any crashing issues. Stability is a huge thing here that I'm glad that they worked on. So in my personal case, I see this update as a win. Maybe you guys do not, but again, you may have been able to play the game for the last 3 weeks. So that's it. That's what we're going to call it. Let me know your thoughts down below. What do you guys think of this update here? Like the changes made so far? Think that it was definitely necessary? Whatever the case, drop your thoughts below. But if you enjoyed the video and found it add-on insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Modern Warfare 2, Warzone 2, and DMZ. We'll keep you the day with everything, especially as we now gear up towards a little longer of a wait period for Season 2, but no less, we'll be getting there eventually. So if you guys want to stay up to date with everything, make sure you hit the subscribe button. But for now, thanks so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care, and peace.